we'll leave it there for now. What time is Tyvis coming on, by the way?
Whenever we say, because he's ready. Tyvis, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Let's get him
Welcome
in the
to the
mix.
show.
What up?
Tyvis.
Hey, you know what? But wait a minute. Before we start, I want to say I'll let my father, Denzel, know that y'all, appreciate the work that he did. So I'll pass that message on to my pops.
That means a lot. Thanks so much.
My two favorite actors, and they're totally different type of actors.
Tyvis Powell and Denzel Washington?
No, definitely not Tyvis. No offense, Tyvis.
Wow.
Are Denzel Washington and John Cusack. I've always loved John Cusack, even though he
I
hasn't
love
done
John
anything
Cusack
lately.
too.
I'm gonna tell you who's one of the most talented actors of his time. Is the dude who used to play at House of Cards.
Kevin Spacey. He's
canceled.
Although he won something recently.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey
is a great actor.
Kevin Spacey is canceled. We have to put that in the Bible and in his bio, right? Like he's canceled. But you have to do that. It's like steroids in a home run chase. You got to put it down there.
Yeah.
You can't you just can't.
He's great.
But
Although I had to stop watching that show because it was too much like real life.
Yeah, it was.
It was freaking me out.
It was I felt like it was happening.
Yes, it was like
for real,
parallel to what was happening in the world.
I remember starting thinking to myself, I'm like, I wouldn't mind this guy as a president right now.
Right.
I really remember saying that.
Yeah,
I actually make some pretty good choices.
But yes.
Tyvis, what are you going to be for Halloween this year? That's the most important question.
yeah.
I will not be anything because I will be doing the Browns pregame and postgame show for Halloween this year. So therefore, I will miss out.
Well,
I won't even get to take my daughter trick or treating. It's unfortunate.
You're not gonna. They don't do it in in Columbus. They don't do it on the weekend.
They're doing it on Halloween.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, what are your daughters dressing up as then? What's their costume?
One is going to be Mickey Mouse. No, Minnie. She's going to be Minnie.
Okay.
And the other one is going to be like a bumblebee or something like that.
All right.
And by the way, Tyvis, just so you know, I made good on my promise. You do have a brand new barbershop hoodie waiting on you here.
Can confirm.
I got them yesterday.
Wait a minute. It's about 4 months late, but better late.
A Lannister always repays his debts.
Are you watching Dragons?
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Have you
I'm
finished
all about
it
it.
yet?
It's good.
I'm through those dragons.
It's good timing, G. I got to stand up on stage like 2 more times, so I'm definitely coming barbershop hoodie for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, we got it ready to go.
Get that
Tyvis,
word
do you
out.
watch House of Dragon or no?
No, because I didn't watch Game of Thrones, and they said if you didn't watch
You
Game
don't
of
need
Thrones,
to. You don't.
I think you do. Well, you don't need to.
You
but
don't need to.
It's better if you do.
If he watched this and then watch Game of Thrones after,
yeah, you
it
could.
makes
That'd be life-changing.
it'll set you up.
But I think you like it more because you saw Game of Thrones,
Hey.
because you know the connections and all that
Mikey
stuff.
McNuggets, do you mind if we turn the last half hour of this sports show into just a podcast about Game of
I
Thrones?
think we
Listen,
love
I
that.
love Game of Thrones. I watched House of Dragons. Anthony finally finished the 10th episode yesterday, so
Did we like it?
Yeah,
What was it?
yeah.
I thought the last 2 episodes were fantastic.
No, yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Shout out, when you get an opportunity. Spoiler alert. Shout out to Vermithor. He's out here. You know what I'm saying? Damon out here speaking
It's
that high
all
Valerian. Shout out to he's my favorite, by the way.
He's awful. He's evil.
all of
He's
this
a-
is
he's a-
Chinese
he's-
arithmetic.
I mean,
I don't
he
know.
is.
I know. I'm sorry, Tyvis. Thank you for coming on and listening to us talk about a
Grabbed
show you don't
his
know.
niece and wife.
I feel so left out.
Tyvis,
Mike,
this character is married to his niece.
Okay, just don't try and fill him in on all of Game of Thrones
Yeah.
and the prequels.
Yeah,
right
if
now.
Tyvis hasn't seen Game of Thrones, that doesn't
Tyvis,
make sense.
we will
Tyvis,
talk
how
about
bad?
Off
Yeah.
air. We
All
can
right.
see you off
Tyvis,
air.
it happens all the time
I
in the
hate that
show.
guy. I don't know
It's
how
all
you
the
do
time in the show.
That's stuff y'all talking about right now.
Tyvis, the real question is, how bad's Penn State going to lose to Ohio State this weekend? Is it a 20-point
Well,
win, a
that's-
30-point win, a 40-point win, or a 60-point win?
Well, that's interesting that you bring that up because for the past few years, every time Penn State's played Ohio State, they kept the game pretty close. So it's actually interesting. I was on doing my radio show yesterday, and we was talking about Penn State, and Penn State has Joey Porter Jr., who's like one of the best corners or DBs in the country. I mean, he's a semifinalist for the Thorpe Award. So it's going to be interesting to see him go up against these wide receivers. And offensively, Penn State, Sean Clifford ain't the greatest quarterback, but for some odd reason, when he plays Ohio State, he plays above himself. And they got Parker Washington, and they got the running back Nick Singleton, who's came on as like one of the best running backs in the Big Ten. So The only issue I see with Penn State is they offensive line is like Cincinnati Bengals from last year. It's terrible. But if they can hold up, they can make the game very interesting. So athlete for athlete, it'll be a good game.
This game is in Penn State.
It is in Happy Valley, correct?
It's a noon game, though.
Oh,
It's a noon.
They're a 15.5-point dog at home.
They tripped. They should have made this a night game and put the white out.
Yeah, it's noon.
Traditional.
We all
You want to hear a fun fact
We
real
all
quick?
said the same thing.
Penn State is terrible in whiteout games. They always play Ohio State or Michigan, and they always end up losing. So they said, we're going to do it next week or last week against Minnesota so we could finally win a whiteout game, which is why this game's at noon and it's not a whiteout.
Smart.
And so
That doesn't matter. That does not matter at all.
That's true.
It doesn't matter if you're a Buckeye because you're getting a dub, but if you're going all out as a Penn State fan, those whiteouts are a lot better in wins than losses.
Tyvus, as like a Buckeye analyst and kind of consultant and stuff, how much of your job is just having to go on shows like this and act like you might be a little bit intimidated by whatever team you're about to roll over that?
I've
always
got
I know. I'm just kidding, but that stinks. When you guys got to be like, hey, Marshall actually has a pretty good defensive line. That's like so much of your job.
Like honestly, I would tell you straight up, like, because we wouldn't even spend that much time on it. It would be like, they're gonna kill him and this, blah blah blah.
Right.
You might point out one or two guys that they have, but when you look at this Penn State, they've always had great athletes. I mean, if you think about the teams that Ohio State have played prior to this game, they've always had the better athletes. Penn State actually got some top athletes, and they got some guys who is up for big awards. So they got the skills. But like I say, the only thing that is missing is their offensive line. And Ohio State actually has to win because, historically it's been like a 6 or 7 point game. They got to win with some style points because the team up north went up with and took it to them. So they got to have some. They got to have an impressive win.
Well, Tyvus, I watched the game against Michigan Penn State. Penn State was in that game for the majority of the game, but then the running game for Michigan took over. They broke a lot of long runs. They broke a few long runs with multiple running backs. And so when I look at this game, I look at what the Ohio State has up front. I think this is a game Mayan Williams can definitely just put it on him. Like he's a guy. And by the way,
G, if he stopped last game, he started like acting like he was Barry Sanders or something. If he get north and south like he always be doing, he will be able to do that. But if he get out there and do what he did last week against Iowa and start dancing with the ball, I don't know what he was thinking. Then it won't look that great.
What he was thinking was, hey, I done got Travion Henderson's minutes, so now I am Travion Henderson. I'm bouncing-nomics. No. You do what you do, dog. Yeah. North and south, run a couple cats over, we be good. But I think they can run the football with him. And the crazy thing about this, too, is Ohio State now has – when did Ohio State get pass-catching tight ends? Like, all of a sudden, like – They got
whoa. We always had pass catching tight ends. They just didn't utilize them.
Well, I can't tell. Listen, they was up there blocking.
Where did Pat Fryermuth go to school?
He went to Penn State,
right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I was thinking he was Ohio State. I'm crazy.
But the run game is a little questionable because Iowa kind of exposed that a little bit last game. They have some dogs on that D line, and we didn't run the ball effectively like I wanted.
What was the score against
Iowa? That bothers me that people say that was the score. Like, no, if you watch the game, it wasn't that great. Like, it was terrible in the first half.
Here's the problem. With college. Here's my beef with college football. Ohio State beat the crap out of Iowa. Okay, you watched the game, fine. It was a little closer than the score tells you. But Ohio State hasn't lost. They've kicked everybody's ass, and people still complain. Because college football is the only freaking sport where style points matter, and that's stupid. Although ultimately it doesn't matter because if Ohio State wins the Big Ten, they're going to the playoffs, which of course they're going to win the Big Ten because Michigan, they're overrated. And let's go. So stop with the nonsense.
It's the standard. It's whose fault it is? It's Ryan Day's fault because nobody told him to come in here and just start scoring 50, 60 points a game and just blow everybody out. Like, nobody told him to do that. They told him to just win the game. He did this
Yeah.
to himself.
Well-
He set the standard that we're going to roll and our offense is going to look electric. You know, they punted the ball last week. I didn't even know our punter's name until last week. Did you know that?
Hey,
We kicked 4 field goals in the game. We
Hey,
the
never
only thing
did
that matters is winning the national title. Anything, that's all that
You
matters.
right.
I'm starting to,
You right.
Tybus, I'm starting to be with Bull on this. He said this earlier. I disagree with him. Brad disagreed with him, but I'm starting to be like him. There's a lot of teams in the Big Ten that need to just. It should be a cycle. It should be like the bottom 4 teams in the Big Ten yearly got to go play in the MAC.
Soccer, soccer, they get relegated.
They got to be
That's
the
good.
they
That'd
got to
be
be the
interesting.
MAC North, and I'm talking about Minnesota, Northwestern, Indiana,
Rutgers.
Illinois, Rutgers. That's 5. Iowa most of the time.
suck.
These dudes they could be in the MAC North.
Yes.
And play the
Eastern Michigan. Play.
Hey, you get Toledo next week, dog. Like, for real? Like, come on, man. Like, these dudes, Illinois, like, I get it, bro, but Illinois is not beating Michigan ever. They're not beating Ohio State ever. Indiana, I don't think they've ever beat Ohio State ever. So, like, for me, I think they should be sliding these boys in
Look
and
that
out.
up.
Hey, go make them play somewhere else, and y'all need to just go ahead and pick the best out of the rest of them Pac-12. You go ahead and get Washington, get Stanford.
How much better football would that make? That'd be so much more entertaining to watch.
Ohio State is crazy. Ohio State is not watchable for most of their season.
Right.
If
I know.
you look at the Big Ten, 4 or 5 teams we named.
You hear me?
And they play Akron. They play
Yes, we
Kent.
can,
They
Tyvus.
go play. They play 3 MAC teams. So you got 8 teams that you playing in the
It's
Big
killing me.
Ten. It's crazy. Go ahead, Tyvus. What do you think about
Tyvus
that?
is freezing up. He's having his wife must be using his internet connection. So I'll just give you 2 stats real quick.
Yeah.
According to Steve Becker, Ohio State has won 9 out of the last 10 against Penn State, and James Franklin is 2-13 against top 5 teams in his career at Penn State. So mark that down as a big Ohio State win. If we get